trials come, people can be weak. Negative feelings can rise within. They may lack clarity on the will of God, or the path that's best for them to practice. But you must have faith in God to work, just like Job, who was weak and cursed his day of birth, yet didn't deny that God gives all things, and that He also takes them away. Suffer from God's words. What God perfects is your faith. When you can't touch it and when you can't see it, it's then that your faith is required. Something can't be seen, when it is hidden from the naked eye, when you can't let go of your own ideas, when you don't know God's work, have faith. When the times of hardship, man's faith must rise. When refined, his faith must come through. Only faith makes you see God and allows God to perfect you. From God's words, what God perfects is your faith. When you can't touch it and when you can't see it, it's then that your faith is required. Whatever refinement you suffer from God's words, what God perfects is your faith. When you can't touch it and when you can't see it, it's then that your faith is required. Oh, it's then that your faith is required. Yes, it's then that your faith is required. Believers in God harbor hope that God's day will soon arrive, so their misery will end. They hope God will change His form and that all their suffering will cease. Oh, these thoughts exist in the depths of their hearts, for man's flesh is not willing to suffer, and instead it longs for better days when that's going through suffering. These things won't be revealed without the right conditions. While conditions not yet ripe, everyone will seem fine. They'll appear to be of good stature, seem to understand truth well, and seem very full of energy. One day when conditions arise, all of these thoughts will be revealed. Their minds will begin to struggle. Some will start to head downhill. It's not that God doesn't make a way out for you, or that He doesn't bestow His grace on you. It's not that He disregards how difficult your situations are. This pain you endure is a blessing, because you must withstand this to be saved and survive. This is predestined by God. The suffering you endure is your blessing. Don't think this is a simple thing. It's not playing around to make people suffer. The meaning of this is profound. If you're on the right path, and if what you seek is correct, in the end you will obtain more than all the saints through the ages. And the promises that you inherit will be greater still. This pain you endure is a blessing, because you must withstand this to be saved and survive. This is predestined by God. Oh, this is predestined by God.
When people have yet to be saved, their lives are interfered with and controlled by Satan. They are all prisoners to it. These prisoners, they have no freedom, have not been relinquished by Satan, not fit or entitled to worship God. Satan remains close on their heels as they suffer its vicious attacks. Such people have no happiness, no right to a normal existence, even no dignity to speak of. You must
man's life is lived under Satan's domain. All live in corruption. No man can free himself from Satan on their own. All live in a filthy world, empty of value and meaning, living carefree lives for the flesh, for lust, and for Satan. Man cannot find the truth that frees him from Satan, even though he believes in God and reads the Bible. Throughout the ages, few men have grasped this secret. Though man detests Satan and the flesh, he cannot rid himself of its hold. Man remains caught in Satan's snare. If you wish to be made perfect, you must understand God's work and the significance of his judgment of man. Are you able to accept God's chastisement and judgment? Are you able to achieve Peter's knowledge and experience? If you pursue to know God and the work of the Holy Spirit, if you seek to change your disposition, you'll have the chance to be made perfect. If man is not cleansed, then he is of the filth. If he is not under God's protection, he is a captive of Satan. If he is not chastised, if he is not judged, then he cannot escape the dark sway of Satan. Man needs God's protection. If your mind and thoughts have not been cleansed, then they are controlled by Satan's hands. If your mind and thoughts have not been cleansed, if you've not been judged in disposition, your entire being is controlled by Satan's manipulation. Understand God's work and the significance of his judgment of man. Are you able to accept God's chastisement and judgment? Are you able to achieve Peter's knowledge and experience? If you pursue to know God and the work of the Holy Spirit, if you seek to change your disposition, you'll have the chance to be made perfect.
Know that your goal is to let God's words take effect in you and truly know them in practice. Maybe you struggle to understand God's words, but practice makes good this flaw. Many truths you must know, and not just know but practice. This must be your focus. There are many truths you should know, so do. This must be your focus. Jesus suffered much in his 33 and a half years as he practiced and lived out the truth. He carried out God's will and practiced the truth, and this is why he suffered so. But not practice the truth, he wouldn't have suffered like that. If he'd followed the Pharisees and teaching of the Jews, he wouldn't have suffered much. No, he wouldn't have suffered much. Jesus' practice can show something that you ought to know. For God's work to achieve results, it needs man to cooperate. This is something that you must understand. You must understand. You must understand. If Jesus hadn't practiced truth, he wouldn't have suffered on the cross. If he hadn't acted by God's will, could he have said such a sad prayer? So this is the kind of pain a person should endure. A person should endure. If Jesus hadn't practiced truth, he wouldn't have suffered on the cross. If he hadn't acted by God's will, could he have said such a sad prayer? So this is the kind of pain a person should endure. A person should endure.
What man seeks in believing in God is to win his blessings for the future. Everyone has this goal and hope, but their corruption must be corrected through trials. The parts of you that are not purified, these are the traits that must be refined. This is God's design. God creates situations that force you to be refined, so you can understand your own corruption. You finally reach a point when you would rather die, lose your schemes and desires, and submit to God's rule and arrangement. Whoever does not go through many years of tests that lead him toward refinement, and anyone who has not endured a certain amount of suffering will fail. They will not rid themselves from corruption of the flesh in their hearts and heads. God creates situations that force you to be refined, so you can understand your own corruption. You finally reach a point when you would rather die. Lose your schemes and desires and submit to God's rule and arrangement. In whatever parts you're bound by Satan, whatever desires you own, whatever demands you cling to, this is where you will suffer. People can learn lessons, gain the truth, and grasp God's will only through painful trials. No one can see God's power and wisdom or appreciate God's righteousness when things are easy. When they are too comfortable, when things are too favorable, it would be impossible.
To this day, many still don't know what God does in the final days, why He endures such extreme shame to stand with man in flesh. Despite woe, He remains.
Man doesn't know God's goals, nor the purpose of God's plan. So people act lukewarm towards the entry God demands. It's brought a great challenge to work God does in the flesh. Men become a hindrance they don't clearly comprehend. May all brothers and sisters do everything in your strength and offer your whole beings to God's heavenly intent. May you be holy servants, enjoy the promises God sends, so God's heart can soon enjoy a peaceful rest. The sky will talk about the work He's doing on man, His urgent intentions, so you'll be loyal servants. Like Job, you'd rather die, bear all shame, than reject God. Like Peter, you'll give your all to be confidence of God. May all brothers and sisters do everything in your strength and offer your whole beings to God's heavenly intent. May you be holy servants, enjoy the promises God sends, so God's heart can soon enjoy a peaceful rest. Fulfill God the Father's will should be the motto all times of all people who love God. Let it be a man's entrance guide, let it direct man's ways. It's the resolve man should maintain. Full cooperation
cooperation with work God does in the flesh to complete God's work on earth. This is the duty man has. One day when God's work's done, man will bid him a farewell. To heaven he will return. Isn't this duty man should do well? May all brothers and sisters do everything in your strength and offer your whole beings to God's heavenly intent. May you be holy servants, enjoy the promises God sends, so God's heart can soon enjoy a peaceful rest.
Because you are a person that believes in God, you should seek holiness and you should seek change. Look to Peter and Paul. You need to look close to understand it all, that all those who did not learn to pursue life, their labor is in vain, their labor is futile. If you believe in God and follow Him, then you must in your heart indeed love Him. Cast aside your disposition that's corrupt, and do the duty of God's creation with all your heart. Because you are a person that believes in God, you should seek holiness and you should seek change.
How should man love God during refinement? Accept it with the resolve to love Him. During this time you're tormented inside. It will feel like twisting in your heart as a knife, but you're willing to satisfy should you love God at a time such as this? Summon your will, lay your heart before God. Devote the rest of your life to Him. No matter how He may choose to refine you, practice truth to please God's heart. Seek God in fellowship. When you serve your function, you may not do it well, but it's all you can do. It's all from love for God. No matter how people think your intentions are correct, you are not self-righteous, for you act in behalf of God. This is the practice during refinement, with love for God as a foundation. Through refinement you get closer to God, and you will be more intimate with Him.
Man should perform his duty, being a creature of God. Seek to love God without other choice, for God is worthy of man's love. People who seek to love God should not seek personal gains, or that which they personally want. This is pursued in the right way. Oh, and if what you seek is the truth, if what you practice is the truth, if you gain dispositional change, then the path that you tread is right. Whether you'll be made perfect or be eliminated depends on your own pursuit. Whether you succeed or fail depends on the path you walk. If you seek blessings of flesh, practice truth of your notion, with no change in your disposition.